What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my Big Ten conference predictions. Let's get into it here. As you can see, here's all the new teams that have been added to the conference with Washington. You got USC, UCLA, and Oregon, the four teams joining the Big Ten this year. But we'll start it with the team that's going to finish worst, in my opinion, and that's going to be Indiana. Indiana, they're going to be 3-9. Their wins are going to be the first two games of the year against FIU and WIU, Western Illinois. And then they're not going to win until the big rivalry game at the end of the year against Purdue at home. I think Indiana's in for a rough season. It's just unfortunate for them, and I even have them losing it against Charlotte at home. So, Indiana, I think it's going to be a long season. Another team, long season, it's going to be Illinois. They're going to go 4-8. They're going to beat EIU, Eastern Illinois, Central Michigan. They're going to win against Minnesota, and then they're going to win against Rutgers at Rutgers. Other than that, don't see much action there happening for Illinois. Another long season for them, along with Minnesota as well. They're going to win three in a row. I think they're going to get North Carolina at home in kind of an upset. That's going to be a good game. It's going to carry them for a little bit against Rhode Island and Nevada. But that's when the Big Ten starts, and you get Iowa and at Michigan to start the season of Big Ten play. And I think it just spirals downhill from there. They're only going to win one game in the Big Ten, and that's going to be a game against Maryland. Another 4-8 team is going to be Northwestern. They're going to win week one as well against Miami of Ohio, lose against Duke at home, and then win against Eastern Illinois, and then Indiana, and then beat Illinois at the end of the year. So they're going to finish 4-8. But they once again have a lot. They have a lot of games on the road that are tough for them at Washington, at Maryland, at Iowa, at Purdue, and at Michigan. Don't see them winning any of those games. And their home games in Big Ten play, besides Indiana and Illinois, are going to be Wisconsin and Ohio State. And I don't see Northwestern really pulling away in any of those games. Another 4-8 team is going to be Purdue. They're going to win against Indiana State week one, but they get a bye week two, and then you get Notre Dame at home, and I think Notre Dame's just going to come in there and destroy them. Big Ten play, I think they are going to get 3 wins. In the 3 wins, you're going to be kind of surprised here. I have them beating Illinois, beating Northwestern, and then I have them beating Penn State at home. And I just think Purdue always plays one game every single year at home against the top team very well. And it's either going to be Oregon or Penn State. And I think just because it's later in the year, I think it's going to be Penn State. They're going to have a lot to prove and really probably shock the world in that week. In week, what is that? 10. I think it's week 10. They're going to shock the world and really get the big win there and maybe knock Penn State out of consideration for a playoff spot. And 4-8 as well is going to be UCLA. They're going to be my last 4-8 team. They're going to get wins at Hawaii, against Indiana, Minnesota, and at Washington. I even have them losing to Fresno State in the last week of the season, and I even have them losing to at Rutgers, at Nebraska. I don't know, this UCLA team. I just don't think there's a lot of hope for them joining the Big Ten, at least for the next few years. Now, 5 and 7, we're going to have Washington. They're going to start 4-0 with Weber State, EMU, Washington State, Northwestern. Start 4-0, great start. And then you really get into the thick Big Ten play. You're going to lose at Rutgers against Michigan, Iowa, Penn State, UCLA, Oregon. They have a very bad Big Ten schedule. Bad meaning that they don't get any favors in that schedule. Their two Big Ten wins, like I said, are going to be Northwestern and then at Indiana. But other than that, it's going to be a long road for Washington. At 6 and 6, we're going to have Maryland. Maryland's going to come into the year guns a-blazing. They're going to start 6-0 and then lose 6 in a row. Their schedule early on, I think, could be very favorable. The game in Michigan State against home could be a coin flip, toss up, could go Michigan State's way. But after they get their sixth win against Northwestern, it's going to be USC, Minnesota, Oregon, Rutgers, Iowa, and Penn State. And I don't see Maryland really putting their throttle down and getting 9, even 8 wins this year. So I kind of see them around 6 wins, and it just so happens that they're all going to be at the beginning of the year. Another 6 and 6 team is going to be Rutgers. They're going to win week one against Howard, take care of business there. But then they're going to lose against Akron at home. And I don't know. I just have a feeling that somehow, some way, they're going to lose that game. I'm not, they're going to be heavily favored in that one, I would assume. But it's just Rutgers football. It's just very inconsistent, and you don't know what you're going to get. They're going to get a lot of Big Ten wins, though, against Washington, UCLA, Minnesota, and Maryland. So they're going to have 4 Big Ten wins in the conference. Be right around, 500 in the conference. That's all that really matters when it's all said and done. I don't know. This Maryland team, there's hope there, but I just don't think it's going to happen this year. Same with Rutgers. And then we're going to go to the 7-5 teams. Michigan State, they are, I think, could possibly even be better than this, but just looking at that schedule, I think that's the fairest assessment. Like I could give them that win at Maryland. They'd be 8-4. Michigan State, let's say they lose at Maryland. They're going to start the season 3-1. I think at Boston College should be a victory for them. But you start Big Ten play, geez, man, they got the toughest 4-game stretch, even 3-game, 2-game, whatever, toughest start in Big Ten. Ohio State at home, at Oregon, off. Iowa at home, at Michigan, and I think you lose all 4 of those games. And that's why I have them possibly saying 8-4 at best. But then you finish the season with 4 straight wins with Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers. So Aiden Childs, I think he can really take this team to the next level. It just depends on if he stays for another year after this year. If he does, then I think Michigan State really has a chance to be a playoff contender next year. USC is also going to go 7-5. They're going to lose week 1 against LSU. I think that's a tough task for them. Losing Caleb Williams, obviously to the NFL, and then playing LSU week 1. Good luck there. They start Big Ten play with a game at Michigan. They're going to lose that one. Lose against Penn State, lose against Nebraska, and lose to Notre Dame. So they won't be able to compete with the top teams in the Big Ten, but they will take care of business when they need to beat the teams that they should. At 8-4, we're going to have Wisconsin. They're going to start 2-0 against Western Michigan and South Dakota. Lose to Alabama at home. I think that game could be a closer game than people expect. And then they're going to lose at USC as well. So not an ugly loss, but a loss I think they're going to want back. But then they're going to win 5 straight against Purdue, Rutgers, Northwestern, Penn State, and at Iowa. And then they're going to lose their last 2 or 3 against Oregon and at Nebraska and win in the last week of the season against Minnesota to get them to 8-4. Iowa at 9-3. They're going to come in, really take care of business against the teams they should. Against Iowa State, seems like they always beat them. Then they're going to lose their second Big Ten game at Ohio State. They're going to lose against Wisconsin, and they're going to lose against Nebraska. And you might be shocked that you haven't seen Nebraska's record yet, but I'm looking at Nebraska's schedule. It's definitely favorable in their favor. But Iowa, I just can't see them being any better just because I don't know what to expect on offense. And when you don't know what to expect on offense, it's always tough to predict a team's win-loss record. 9-3 as well is going to be Penn State. They are going to win 6 in a row, starting off the season. And then they're going to lose 2 in a row at Wisconsin and Ohio State, rebound with a win against Washington. And then, like I said, they're going to lose at Purdue because, that 4-game stretch right there is going to be tough for them. And I think, like I said, Purdue is going to be one of those teams that's going to play teams tough no matter the record. And I think they lose that one, but they finish with Minnesota and Maryland and take care of business there. Now at 10-2, I'm going to have Ohio State, and they are going to start 5-0. They're going to lose at Oregon in week 7. Then they're off, and then they're going to win 5 in a row, and then lose against Michigan. Obviously, I'm a Michigan fan, so maybe a little bias here. So take that with a grain of salt. If you look at the last 3 years, they've been in the game, but just can't figure it out in the fourth quarter. And that's where Michigan shines. The defense shows up the most in the fourth quarter, and the offense really can run the clock away. And if Ohio State can figure out how to get a lead, start with the lead, I guess, in the fourth quarter, then it might go their way and the Buckeyes will win that. I will say they will win that game if Ohio State's winning heading into the fourth quarter, but that just hasn't been the case in recent years. Now 11-1, I have Nebraska. This might be my crazy pick for the year. With Raiola starting, the true freshman, I think he's going to just come out and light them up. Their only loss is going to be at Ohio State, actually. But other than that, if you look at their schedule, I think the Colorado game could be a tricky game. Wisconsin and Iowa, the last 2 games of the year, I think are the 2 toughest games in the conference. When you don't play Michigan, when you don't play Oregon, when you don't play Penn State, and you play Iowa, I mean that's your second toughest game. And they don't know how to score. And obviously it's a rivalry game. You never know. And I think this Nebraska team under Matt Rule, I think really could do really well. And I say that because he's had success at Baylor, obviously not his first year or second year, but he didn't have this level of talent that he has at quarterback now that he does at Nebraska. And I think that's going to be great for him. 11-1, I have Michigan. And you can see the asterisk there because they're going to be going to the Big Ten championship. And obviously they'll be playing Oregon because they're the last team remaining. But Michigan's loss is going to be against Oregon, actually, at home. And I just think Michigan, the Texas game for them, if they win that game, I think they don't lose until Oregon or Ohio State. And if they do lose that Texas game, then I think this Michigan record is going to be 9-3 with losses to Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State. So that Texas game week 2 for me as a Michigan fan as well is going to determine how this Michigan team plays for the rest of the season. Because if they don't win that game at home against Texas, and if it's not even close, let's say they lose by 10 or more, we might be looking at 8-4, possibly 9-3 season for the Wolverines. And then Oregon, I have going 12-0 this year, not a loss on their schedule. Toughest game, Ohio State at home and at Michigan. It's obviously their two toughest games. Let's say they win. I'm just saying they're winning both here, going to the Big Ten championship. And I do think they win the Big Ten, so they're going to be 13-0. So they will get a bye in the college football playoff. But Oregon, they have a lot on the table here, and as long as this team can stay healthy, I just think this team could run the table and possibly win it all. But that's gonna be it for my Big Ten predictions. Come back next time to see the other conferences that I'll be breaking down. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.